Man, I was supposed to upload this yesterday, but I couldn't. But anyways, today we're talking about hype trains. Look, every year the UFC gives us that one fighter everybody swear is the future, the next champ, the one that's gonna run the division. And then out of nowhere, derailment. They catch an L, the hype slows down, and everybody starts second guessing. But I don't want to talk about the fall. Now, I want to look at whether these fighters can bounce back and can learn from their losses, fix their holes, and come back even stronger, or are they just going to stay in that good but not great lane? You feel me? I'm going to go fighter a fighter, breaking down what went wrong and what we've learned, and if this hype was cooked from the start or just delayed. And let's be real, we've all been on that hype train before, riding hard, no homo. Then that fighter takes an L, and you're sitting there like, damn, I really put my stock in this guy. Yeah, I've been there too. So let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to keep it simple today. I've only got 3 names on this video, just 3 fighters I want to break down. And the first one up, we got Bo Nickal. Man, the hype that people were giving this dude was kind of different. We're talking about an NCAA champ, one of the best college wrestlers of his generation, and people at one point were calling him a future UFC champion before he even had a real pro run. That's how much weight folks put on his pedigree. He turned pro in 2022 and just started mowing through dudes. Quick knockouts, slick submissions, fights weren't even lasting long. Then he hit the Contender Series, got that contract, and it's like, yeah, the UFC's got their first golden boy. He debuted against Aaron Pico, first round submission, smooth as butter. And at that point, everybody was like, all right, Bo is about to run through the middleweight division. Val Woodburn, Cody Brundage, even Paul Craig, which was a crappy performance in my opinion. But that Craig fight is when the vibe shifted a little. Yeah, he got the W, but it wasn't dominant like people were expecting. The crowd straight up started chanting overrated, and even Dana White was like, Bo still needs work. That's when the hype train started slowing down just a little bit. Then Rainier the Raider happened, and listen, RDR is no joke. That was supposed to be Bo's big coming out party, his I'm here moment, and instead, he got folded with a knee to the body and stopped in the second round. Just like that, his first loss on his record, Oregon, and when you get hyped up the way that Bo did, fans don't cut you slack, they pile on it, okay? Especially how cocky Bo was. And suddenly it's a fraud check meme. Everybody's calling him overrated. It works. But to be fair, the loss aged well in my opinion. The Ritter isn't some random middle of the pack dude. I mean, this guy is with a ton of experience who just beat Robert Whittaker recently. And he's in a title eliminator with Anthony Hernandez next. Losing to him isn't the end of the world. It just showed Bo still has work to do. The problem is when you come in cocky and talk like you're already the best, people don't want to give you that time to grow. And that's where Bo Nickal is right now. He's still got that Lee's wrestling base. He's still young, and the talent is obviously still there. But the hype train isn't invincible anymore. The mystique, it's gone. The cockiness, it was working against him. And now we're really going to find out what he's made of. Is he still championship material, or is he about to settle in as just another guy in the mix? So here's the thing with Bo Nickal. How far can he actually go? I think top 15, maybe top 10. As far maybe to 7 and 6, I can't give him the top 5. I just don't see it. I mean, the dude has incredible wrestling pedigree, okay? He's one of the best to ever do it. And in MMA, that kind of background is always going to be dangerous. He already showed that he can fight too. We see him with subs, some ground and pound here and there, even awkward blitz on the feet. So yeah, even against the middle tier at 185, I could see him getting wins and moving up the rankings. But here's where people kind of get it twisted. MMA grappling and wrestling credentials aren't the same thing. Being a world-class wrestler doesn't automatically mean you're going to ragdoll everyone in the cage. In college, you've got rules, positions, no strikes. In MMA, you got guys who are, throwing elbows, guillotines, scrambling. It's all different. That's why, even with all of Bo's insane credentials, we've already seen some spots where he struggled to impose his game. Rainier the Ritter showed that clear as day with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background. He didn't care about Bo Nickal's wrestling trophies. And physically, Bo doesn't look like a tank compared to these killers at the top of the middleweight. I'm sorry. He's 6'1", decent reach, but he's not even a big middleweight, man. You got guys like Dricus, Hamza, Izzy, and Mavov. I could keep going. They're bigger, stronger, and they're more built for the division, okay? Bo's game relies a lot on bullying dudes with that wrestling, then mixing in that overhand with the weird blitzes that work against some guys in the bottom half of the rankings. But once you're fighting the top 8, those tricks aren't enough in my opinion. Striking wise, he's not there yet either. Can he improve? Of course, but I haven't seen anything, that like gets my attention that he's growing in the striking. He doesn't have one punch knockout power that makes people hesitate. If he can't get a takedown, he's hittable, and the body shots or clean counters could really hurt him. We've already seen it. So this is my take. Bo Nickal is good enough to be a ranked fighter, top 15, maybe even top 10, but championship level, I don't buy it yet, okay? He would need a huge leap in striking defense, cardio, and overall MMA fight IQ to hang with the elite. And I don't know if he'll ever get that good, but I guess time will tell, am I right? Anyways, the next guy we got is Mauricio Ruffy. When he came in, the hype was strong. He was knocking out dudes, left and right, putting on highlight reels, and then he hit the UFC, kept that same energy. I think his first fight was against Jamie Mullarkey, gone in 1 round. Then that wheel kick eventually on Bobby Green, that had everybody talking. 11 of his 12 wins were knockouts too. He's not trying to point fight or play safe. If he's in the cage, he's trying to finish you. That's why fans got behind him so quick. But then we saw what happens when somebody doesn't give him the fight he wants. Benoit Saint Denis in Paris walked him down, chopped him with the body kicks, dragged him into the clinch, and once it hit the mat, Ruffy looked lost. Eventually he tapped to a face crane. And that's not something you see high-level lightweights tapping too often. Conor McGregor. It wasn't just a loss, it was an exposure. Even Islam Makhachev came out after saying straight up, Ruffy has 0 grappling. And to me that stung, but it wasn't far off. The fans piled off on it, saying that his grappling was pretty much disrespectful, let's be honest. And he didn't prepare it and got humbled for it. And honestly, you can't really argue too much with that. He really looked like he was a one-dimensional fighter that night. And that's the problem. We know what he brings. Sometimes he has that knockout power, flashy striking, crazy finishes. But what happens when he doesn't get the knockout? Right now, the answer is he probably loses. He doesn't defend takedowns well, he doesn't scramble back up with urgency, and his composure disappears when somebody pressed him. He looked hesitant against Saint Denis, almost like he didn't know what to do once the striking wasn't going his way. That's a red flag if you're trying to move up the lightweight division, and lightweight isn't the place to have holes. This is a deep ass division, guys who bring elite tools. They're not gonna just stand there and trade with you. They're gonna push a pace, mix in the wrestling, drag you into a spot that you're uncomfortable, and force you to show depth. And right now Ruffy doesn't have that depth. He's got that one shot danger, but in my opinion that's it. So how far can he go? I think he can beat around the top 15, especially anyone who's willing to strike with him. As far as he can go, maybe top 10, top 8. He'll probably always be dangerous because of his striking, and he can press the button really good. He only needs one clean shot to change the fight. But once you're talking like that top 10, list, I don't see it. His ground game isn't there. His defense isn't there. And unless he's making real improvements, he's gonna hit that ceiling really fast. And to me, Ruffy feels like a guy who's gonna give us some big moments, maybe even ruin a few other hype trains himself. But I don't see him being a contender. He's gonna live in that gatekeeper lane. Exciting, fun to watch, but not someone I expect to see holding the belt. I'm just being real. Alright, the last one we got on the list is Aaron Pico, and I'm not gonna go deep in this whole history, but you can't do a hype train breakdown without mentioning this guy, okay? The dude came in MMA with an insane credential, world-class wrestling, Golden Glove boxing background, one of the best prospects in Bellator that they ever signed. Now, on paper, it looked like he was built in a lab for MMA. He's explosive, powerful, and when he's on, he can end the fight quick. But then we got to his debut in UFC 319 in the UFC against the real Murphy, and dude, it was rough. Murphy's a sharp striker, he's calm under pressure, and he figured Pico out early. But to be fair, Pico was having success in that fight too. He was landing clean shots, showing that same finishing ability we've seen from him before. The problem is, he didn't mix things up. First round, Pico came forward without much setup, no real feints, and Murphy just timed him with a spinning back elbow eventually. That shut his lights out. That wasn't just a loss, that was a bad loss. And all that UFC hype hit the break instantly. And here's the thing, man, about Pico striking. It's powerful, no doubt about it. It's kind of predictable. He doesn't use a lot of feints. He doesn't disguise his entries. When he throws, you see it coming. Against lower level guys, that raw speed and athleticism might be enough to break through. But against someone like Murphy, who reads timings and looks for openings, that lack of feints is a huge problem. He's basically showing his hands before he even played it. So where does this leave him? I still think Pico's too talented to be written off. He's got that wrestling to fall back on. The athleticism is there. And when he's aggressive in the right spots, he's dangerous. I can see him beating guys at the edge of the top 15, maybe even sneaking in the top 10 if he cleans up his game. But if he doesn't start adding those layers, more feints, smarter setups, pacing himself, then he's going to hit the same wall, because these guys aren't Bellator fighters, they're UFC fighters. And the top 10 is pretty good in featherweight. To me, Pico's story is the perfect reminder: hype and raw tools aren't enough. You can be explosive, you can be powerful, but at a top level, it's about being crafty, okay? It's about how well you set things up, how well you adjust, and right now, Pico hasn't proved that. And those are just my thoughts on those three fighters. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with me or not. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like always, guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.